And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Marvel Legendary expansion Annihilation. Now, this is an expansion for Marvel Legendary, so if you don't know how to play the game, I would recommend watching my review on Marvel Legendary and not this. I'm just talking about this as an expansion. This is almost, it's not quite an expansion to an expansion. And by that I mean, this is really based on the Fantastic Four. This is one of their enemies, Annihilus, with the Annihilation Wave, which as a by-to-by, I think it's a little weird they didn't put Kang on the cover, because Kang's also in here. And since he was part of the Loki TV series, I thought that he'd be a bigger draw. But they're the two main bad guys in here. But there's more Fantastic Four stuff in this one. But if you want the Fantastic Four, you should probably buy that expansion first. We'll take a look at the cards, and I'll show you a little bit of what I mean, and we'll be back. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the heroes first, because I'm always more interested in them anyway. So first we have Psylord, which is one of the many names of Franklin Richards, who is the son of the Fantastic Four, or two of them anyway. And he has powers sometimes, doesn't have powers other times. Anyway, don't worry about it. His backstory is really confusing. Anyway, he's a mutant, he was not a mutant, doesn't matter. He has two things. There's two keywords here. Now, these are not new keywords to this set. Focus, which is in the original Fantastic Four set, and is one of the best ones there is, basically, lets you essentially spend money to do various effects. Like here, reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a Master Strike, you get +3 attack, KO it, and replace it with the top card of the bystander stack. That's pretty cool stuff, actually. I like that, although the chance of this working is not too particularly good because of that. You also notice at the bottom of this card it says Man Out of Time. So this came with the Captain America set back in the day. And Man Out of Time means after you do it, set it aside, and then you can play it again on your next turn. That in itself makes the card worth it. If nothing else, the fact that you have two. That revealing the top card, that's a little trickier. You have to decide whether that's worth it to you here. Here, for the top card's a bystander, you get extra attack with this one. Hey, look, he's growing up. Here, focus 1, reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a villain, you get +1 attack, and you can fight it this turn. That's pretty simple. Notice that the Man Out of Times require an extra icon, but still, I think they're worth doing. And then his biggest card here, the Reshape Reality, which he has done so many times to the benefit of the Marvel Universe. He can focus 3, reveal the top card. If it's a Scheme Twist, you get +4 and shuffle the villain deck. I like that. But it's a 3/3 regardless. So he's not bad. You just got to learn those two special abilities. Then we have the daughter of the Fantastic Four, whose name is Brainstorm, I guess. Valerie Richards, anyway. Anyhow, so her cards, she has Woman Out of Time, which is the exact same thing. You can play the card twice. Here, draw a card, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. For 2 cost, that's pretty good. Reveal the top card of the deck. If it costs 2 or more, draw it. Otherwise, discard it, put it back. So she's going to manipulate your deck, essentially. The 6 card is a little tricky because you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck. If you do KO one of them and put the other back, and it's 3 attack, you have to think it's a 3 attack. Here, you need another Fantastic Four. But as I say with the Fantastic Four stuff, if you're going to play with some Fantastic Four, you might as well play with all of them or a lot of them. Now, this one's weird. There's protege of Dr. Doom. If you don't know, she was adopted by Dr. Doom for a while, worked for him. It's a long story. This lets her use one of Dr. Doom's mastermind tactics. You're like, oh, I didn't know Dr. Doom was in this set. Yeah, he's not. So this card really only works if you have the original Fantastic Four. But that is kind of cool. I really like that idea. That's a neat thing, but again, it's kind of a weird thing, and it's thematic, it works, but look how small that text is too. Whew, a lot of different things going on. Then we have, if you don't want to play with all the Fantastic Four characters, or you want to play with all of them, but you only want to use up 1 slot, then you can use the Fantastic Four United, because that has 1 card for each of them. Human Torch, The Thing, Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic. These also have focuses. So I like Human Torches. Focus 6, you get +6 attack and gain a wound. That's still worth it. I like that. The Thing can focus to get plus attack. The Invisible Woman here, if you play this, draw cards that cost 4. She gets +2, and she can rescue bystanders. And Mr. Fantastic, who's the 7-cost card here, can focus 5 to get +7, only against the Mastermind. That's fine. If you're getting +7, you're probably wanting to fight the Mastermind anyway. But hey, Let's take a couple bad guys who are joining here. Super Skrull, who I guess the Super Skrull is good at some point in the series. I don't remember when. He also has focus, but he also has something here called Conqueror. Now, Conqueror is usually something for a bad guy, which basically means they get you get the bonus attack when there's a villain in that spot. But here that means if there's any villain in the sewers, then this guy has +1 attack. And he can focus 3. Here you're spending attack ability to get money. It's kind of a weird combo. Here's the Bank Conqueror one. That's a weird title if you think about it. I'm Bank Conqueror. And you can focus 3. This guy spends attacks to KO a card from your hand or discard pile. Okay, not bad to cull your own deck. And then his big card here is the Put to the Torch, which has 2 different conquerors, Bridge Conqueror, Streets Conqueror. You can gain a wound and then get Rooftops Conqueror 4. So it's possible, if there's 3 villains out there, that this is a 10 attack card. That's pretty powerful. And then finally, the last quote-unquote hero is the Heralds of Galactus. So we have Stardust, who's a Rooftop Conqueror, can focus 11 to search your discard pile for the Galactus Hungers card, which we'll talk about in just a second. So this helps you find that card. Silver Surface just lets you draw a card and move a villain to an adjacent space. The Fire Lord, your hero Conqueror abilities, which that makes them good to combo with people who have those, like the Fantastic Four, also give you, or the Super Skrull, I mean, also give you attack if those city spaces have been destroyed. Destroyed, what's that mean? Well, this is one of the more complex cards in the deck, Galactus Hungers, and it's weird that this is a good guy card. I still find that a little odd. And here, if you have played another Herald of Galactus this turn, destroy the leftmost city space. Okay, so the leftmost city space is gone. Just turn the card over to show it's gone. Defeat any villain there, and you get +2 for each destroyed city space. And this isn't an 8 attack, by the way. So you're going to get 10 attack from this. If you destroyed the last city space, Galactus consumes the Earth. You win, evil wins, and all the other players lose. So whoever buys this card, by the way, it's 10 costs. It's a ridiculous amount. Whoever buys this card is going to help everyone out unless they get to play this card multiple times, which is probably unlikely. I don't know how I feel about cards like this because this is kind of a tricky thing to throw in a game to have only one person win what is essentially a straight-up cooperative game. Yes, I know it's semi-cop. No one plays it that way. But it's interesting. I just think it's weird that there's a Galactus card in here, but Galactus himself isn't in the set. Speaking of bad guys, we'll start with some villains. We have the Annihilation wave here. They have momentum. So momentum here is, I think this is brand new to this set. This means when they have momentum, like the Annihilation Armada here is momentum 2. That means if it enters, when they enter, if they get +2, if they entered another city space's turn. So when they move, they get extra attack. So it works on the turn they enter the city, and it gets pushed somewhere else, it has that extra attack. All right, so then there's different ambush and stuff here, and if he escapes. So these guys, they're all about momentum, except here's another Galactus. There's 2 Galactuses in this game. One is the Galactus Hungers. This is weaponized Galactus. This is momentum 9, so when they show up, forget trying to fight this guy. Either way, he swaps places with the leftmost villain in the city and then destroys a spot in that city. And otherwise, everyone gets a wound and it's insanity. This guy's bad, really bad, so be careful because Galactus is going to show up. All right, let's take a look at people who are not nearly as terrible. We have Iron Lad, which again, Iron Lad here is from the villain from the Timelines of Kang. Now, this one's super interesting, and I want to talk about him a little bit later, so we're going to set him aside because he becomes a hero. First of all, the player of your choice gains this as a hero if you fight him. That's kind of cool. I really like that. So we're going to come back to him. Then we have the Bank Conqueror 2, and Ambush, and Out of Time. So these are just like the person Out of Time. They get to play their stuff twice. And then we have some new schemes. I will say I like this Pulse Waves from the Negative Zone because it's really simple. Every other twist here does something. It's either Negative Pulse, where all the heroes cost 1 less, and all the villains are -1. Positive Pulse, all the heroes cost 1 more. Mastermind gets +1. Very simple and easy to play. And then we have a Sneak Attack of the heroes' homes. Put humanity on trial. That's kind of an interesting one. And then you want a more complex one. You got the Breach Parallel Dimensions. There are 2 Masterminds in the set. We have Annihilus here, who has mass momentum, always comes in with that Annihilation wave. So have fun with that one, because that means Galactus is likely going to show up. And his Master Strike revealed the top card of his deck. If it's a bystander, he captures. If a villain enters the city, captures a bystander and moves forward in extra space. And with that momentum, isn't going to make him particularly easy. I think he's the harder of the two here. There's also, it says if it's not the final tactic and Galactus in the city, he escapes. So that's not very good. And we got the Cosmic Control Rod. The other mastermind is Kang the Conqueror. So Kang the Conqueror has Conqueror 2 for each city space under a time incursion, and anytime a time incursion happens, basically from a Master Strike. So that's kind of cool. I think he's a little simpler to fight. He's one of the, I'm not saying necessarily he's easy to fight, but I do like he has this one card here, which if it's not the final tactic, everyone reveals their hand. You choose a card named Iron Lad, what? From the escape pile, or from man at a time, or from any player's hand or discard, and it gets shuffled into his tactics as a mastermind tactic. I like that the Iron Lad is Kang. You're like, what? We figured that out. No! It's kind of a cool little thing that they put him back in the game. So those are the cards that are in this game. Okay, so you can see there's one card that actually uses a card from the Fantastic Four expansion. So again, I think you should get that one first. I would not get this one ever before the other Fantastic Four. First of all, the other Fantastic Four has the iconic characters. I don't think Franklin and Valerie Richards are iconic characters. They're a pretty big part of the comic book right now. If you're reading through the Fantastic Four comic book, I've been reading through their current storyline. A lot of cool things are happening in that, but it's not really, you know, as try as they want, they made Franklin Richards way too powerful at the beginning, and so they had to really pull back, and you can tell that in the comics. But that being said, this does add those 4 more characters in. So if you want to play with Fantastic Four stuff, or I'm sorry, 6 more characters. If you want to play with Fantastic Four stuff, you have more options now. You might want to play with Johnny Storm, Mr. Fantastic, Valerie, and the mom. You know, you put those 4 together. You can pick any 4. This gives more, and it gives the Fantastic Four the fun of fighting not just Annihilus, but they can fight Kang too, who again is sometimes a Fantastic Four villain, but more of an Iron Man villain. So I like this set. I think there's a lot of good things in it. I think there's a lot of keywords and stuff, and while some of the things are a little easy, I don't think focus is a difficult keyword. Some of this stuff is pretty complex. Bringing in Galactus to destroy cards, that's a pretty big game changer. That's going to change how the game itself works. So I'm really only recommending this if you, A, have the Fantastic Four expansion, and B, are pretty involved with Marvel Legendary. You know, there's some like, hey, for your first expansion, get this. I am not saying that here. In fact, I'm saying don't get this as your first expansion. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, but the heroes and villains themselves aren't particularly compelling. I never actually found Annihilus to be a compelling villain at all. I think Kang is interesting, Annihilus, whatever. He just basically runs a bunch of aliens, and they come in, and then they cause damage, and they get beat by the Fantastic Four every single time. So Kang, though, on the other hand, has some pretty interesting time-jumping dimensional stuff. That being said, if you like the Fantastic Four and you want more of it, I know it is the most popular, I think, of all the sets of the small boxes for Marvel Legendary, then this is a nice complementary thing to it. I like a lot of the stuff that this adds, even though most of it we've seen elsewhere. Focus is my favorite thing of this new set. And I also like that whole Iron Lad and how that works, although that's a smaller mechanism and has a bigger part of things. Anyway, that's Legendary Annihilation. I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved.